Hello and welcome to another episode of Anomalies. This is a program about what happens when you take a path that's different than the straight and narrow path that we're oftentimes on. And we're going to take one of those journeys off the straight and narrow path tonight. I'm Dan Hall, one of your podcast hosts, and we'd ask that you like and subscribe to our podcast. And tonight's guest is Lisa Savoy. And first heard about Lisa through a mutual friend. And Lisa is someone who would describe herself as an experiencer. So let's start from that. What did you experience, Lisa? First of all, welcome to the program. And what did you experience that made you want to start using that term to describe yourself?
Well, it started when I was at the age of 3.5. And the first encounter that I remember, like I used to live in like Cambridge, Ontario. And back for home, in our backyard, we had this huge field. And between that, there was a wire fence and a man-made hill with tracks on top of it. So I would used to just go outside my home to the front door, take a turn down to the right. I would go down the sidewalk down a little ways till I got to an opening through this man-made hill. So I went into the field. So I walked further into the field. I noticed like it looked like the sun in the sky. And it was slowly moving to the right. And I noticed how it was changing from red, orange, and white, different colors. And I was a very curious child, so I thought, oh, what is this? Like the sun, the sun doesn't move like that. And then I noticed it stopped moving. It just hovered, it just sat there. So, and next I knew, it was getting bigger, like it was coming closer to me. And it changed, like it had like a thick black line going around it. And it had multiple lights going all around it, shining yellow, orange. And as it got closer, it was getting huge. It was huge. And I noticed it changed again. It no longer had the black ring or the lights on it. It's like a huge, shiny, metallic bronze color, a huge metallic ball in the sky. And it's reflecting everything. And at that point, that's all I would remember, was that far. And I remember after that, I go back home. And on my way home, I had these kids that knew me and friends of mine telling me, they would say to me, where have you been? Your parents were looking for you for hours. You're in so much trouble. And I was confused. I said, okay, I just walked down the field, came back again. It wasn't that long. It's not that far down. So when I got home, both my parents were really upset. They came at me, where have you been? You're gone for hours. Where have you been? We couldn't find you anywhere. And I thought, what's going on here? Just didn't.
Sounds like missing time.
Yes. Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going.
They were so frustrated with me. Like I would go out in the morning. I basically would miss my lunch and supper. So when I got home, they were so angry with me. Dad, she told me to go to bed, to my room, and I had nothing to eat. I was so hungry.
Hmm.
And I just didn't understand what was going on. So, anyways, after that, I remember one night, I was in bed and something woke me up. So I got up, sat up in bed, and I noticed, okay, the temperature in here feels cooler. And I was looking back at the wall there across from me. And I noticed the wall was pitch black. I mean, so black. It's like it wasn't even there anymore. It's just a big black empty spot. And I noticed these little beings that came through my wall. They were short. They were 3.5 feet tall. They had light gray skin. They had huge black eyes. They had just a flat nose, like 2 holes per nose, a small mouth. They had no hair, no ears. And as a child, I remember thinking, they have a missing finger. Like we have 5. They didn't have 5 fingers, just 4. And so I got up out of bed. I walked over to one and I started talking to him. I wasn't afraid of them. Even though they looked different, I thought, who are they? And I started talking to him. I introduced myself to him. I told my name, being the kid I was, and I asked what their name was. I got no answer. I asked them how they got into my room, how they get to my wall. Still no answer. I remember I held my hand out, as a friendly handshake. And I remember he just looked down at my hand. And he looked up at me. Still nothing. After all, it's kind of, weird. And I noticed how the atmosphere changed. Something didn't feel right. Like something didn't feel right about these beings that are in my room. Just ate them all together. I remember after he looked at me, half of them moved way over to my right side, and the other half moved over to my left side. And I thought, what's going on here? And all of a sudden, I couldn't move. I couldn't budge. I couldn't twitch a finger. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't even move my eyes. I was frozen. And then I had this feeling, some type of energy going, not just going around me, but through me somehow. And next thing I know, I was being lifted up off the floor. Then I was being pulled towards where the wall should have been. And I tried to scream. I couldn't scream. If I tried to scream, my lungs was hurt. If I tried to move, I just had this horrible pain, just bone deep all through my body. And since I couldn't scream physically, I just screamed in my mind, my mother, a screaming mommy in my mind. And after that, I just blacked out. That's all I can remember at that time. This happened to me multiple times. Yeah,
That must have really freaked you out as a little kid.
it did. I didn't know what was going on. I
Mhm.
didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't know what they were at that time.
Did you tell your parents about what
Um,
happened?
Actually, I did, and I was just told, it's just, "Hey, Lisa, you're just dreaming, it's just dreams." But no,
Mhm.
they're not dreams. I mean, at nights, I was even terrified after this was going on after a while. I was even terrified to go to the washroom because, yeah. But, so that was happening for a while. So at first, I wasn't afraid in the first couple times till, what happened was I was living what they did to me as a child in my dreams. Like I would have dreams, like memories of what they did with me after they took me. I remember they put me on the table. They would take my clothes off. And I remember they would take hair from me. They would take some of my skin from me. They would give me these needles. It's like a very rough medical exam. That's the best way. I mean, they're rough. I can feel their fingers just poking to my skin. And the way they had it was really rough. It was not very pleasant at all. And I was terrified because I did not understand what's going on.
Mhm.
They seem to be like cruel, mean. Yeah. So I would have those during the night, and it was terrible.
I imagine it was. So, is that still going on in your life?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, I still have it in my life. It's still ongoing process. Like there's some stuff, there's other stuff that happened too, what was it? Maybe a couple years back. A couple years back, I remember one time, like the grace for years, there's just a child that always been 3.5 feet tall. But there's one night I woke up, I couldn't sleep. I was restless. And I was kind of like halfway lying on my side. And this way I was lying, I could still see a little bit. I was facing the left side. I could still see what's going on the right side of me. I was lying in bed and I noticed movement. And I thought, what's that? So I rolled over onto my back and I saw Gray. He's 8 to 9 feet tall. He's wearing a black hooded cloak. And it was just, it startled me because it was so tall. And I can see the features more in its face because it was bigger. I can see like the wrinkles around its eyes, down by its mouth and its nose. And it was huge. It first stepped in, I can see behind it because usually when they come in, they're always facing towards me. But he was down in the corner and he stepped out and I could see behind him. I noticed something strange when he stepped out. Like, I could see like mist or something come from behind him, like long strands of mist come from behind him. And the wall was always black as usual. And that's all I remember.
Hmm. So, this being that you're talking about now was substantially different than the others that
Yes,
you'd seen previously.
I was shocked to see that. I was like, I have no memory before of seeing that being ever. Yeah, it seemed different though. It didn't seem to be as aggressive as smaller grays. It was different. But to this day, I could not say who they are. I just remember them being there, and that's it. I don't remember what happens after that.
When was the last time you had an encounter with these beings?
Um, Not that long ago. It was a few months back.
And did that take place in your house or outside of your house?
Oh, in my house,
Okay.
my room.
So I noticed that there was somebody else in the picture earlier. Is that is that your spouse?
Oh, oh, my husband, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
had to use my computer, so he helped me with it.
okay. Yeah. Husbands are good for things like that. So does he have experiences with these
Um,
beings or?
he's seen things happen to me, like he remembers nights like he'll wake up and I'm not there.
Hmm,
He goes, I must have been dreaming. I said, no, you weren't dreaming. First he thought I was at the washroom, that I wasn't returning. He remembers stuff like that. He remembers seeing small beings at the end of our bed. And first he thought, oh, it's just our son. So wait, it's too small for our sons. Like he did stuff like that. And one time I was waking up in the morning. I had these, you can tell they weren't normal bruises and marks I had on my body. He seen me wake up with those and he always questioned, how are you getting those? He
mhm,
was afraid, he was concerned. And he used to be in the army too, and this was going on one time before he went away for 6 months. I would wake up in these conditions and he couldn't figure out why. And when he went down overseas for 6 months, things kind of picked up, things got worse.
hmm,
I was not only getting horrible marks on my body, I was getting really sick from these experiences I had. I was very dehydrated. I had burns in my body. I was not feeling good. I was really sick. And my oldest son remembers this. This is a while back. My son's only just young. And I remember my husband would call in the morning to see how I was doing. And my poor oldest son, he was in tears. He was crying, begging for his dad to come home.
Hmm.
There's something going on.
So, has your husband had these experiences himself, or has he had them just in connection with you?
Just connection with me, like he hasn't really said anything, so I don't, he hasn't mentioned, no.
Hmm. What about your kids? Have they had any experiences like this?
Okay, there's my oldest son. I didn't put this part in my book. My oldest son, when this was going on with me, I remember sometimes he'll wake up in the morning and he would say to me, he'll go, Mommy, he says, I've seen men come into our home and take you.
Hmm.
Describe them to me. And he did. I couldn't believe what I heard. I had visits with the men in black and
Really?
the full detail, and he described them to me exactly what
So,
like. And
so
here,
now we're not talking about the grays or the tall being. We're talking about a completely different creature, men in black.
I know it's just like it's just so it's just crazy what I've been through, and he went full detail, and that terrified me because my husband was home at that time. I just didn't want to say what it was, and I said, "Joy, you're just dreaming," and it broke my heart because he went to his room crying really hard. Yeah, that's the part I did not put in my book. But
Mhm.
yeah, so but it was scary. I thought, what'd he say? And I remember he would go to school and it really affected him because he'd done this more than once. And I remember he'd go to school and I remember I hear the phone ring. I answer the phone. It's his teacher, frantic. There's something wrong with Jordy. He won't talk. He's crying, does not want to eat, and he does not want to talk with anybody. And I thought, what do you do?
So, do you think he was being, I don't want to use that word abducted because you didn't want to use it either. Has he been in contact with the same creatures that you were, or has he been in contact with different creatures?
He didn't really say. So that's the only thing he really told me was that one there. See what happened was he would get up during the night and he would roam around and apparently when he'd done that one night, he ran into them.
Must be very troubling as a parent to hear your kid being traumatized by these
It's
events.
yeah, it's very frustrating. Like people talk about disclosure and all that. I don't think it's gonna happen, to be honest. But it's a very frustrating thing. It is. You know,
So,
um,
oh, go ahead.
it's like what do you do? Like I said, no one's gonna believe you. And
Mhm.
I didn't want my son going to school saying all this stuff because you know what's gonna happen there, right? So
Right, right.
not much you can do about it. No.
So, a couple of things come to mind here, and maybe I'll have you talk about Opus in a second here. But Why are they choosing you? Why have you been chosen? Why has your son been chosen? What's your speculation about that?
Well, my mom didn't tell me right away, but she's actually an experiencer herself. I just found this out a year or so after my book came out.
Generational stuff.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I could figure. Yeah. Because as to say why I said to people, as one Christian, I can't answer because I don't know. I
Hmm.
really don't know. Why is it happening? I don't know. I just don't know.
You just know that it does happen.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about Opus. I'm familiar with Opus. I used to be part of that organization. How did Opus help you deal with this? Opus stands for the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. How did they help you?
Well, when I first signed up, they asked where you live at. Like I live in Windsor. I'm just on the border. I'm pretty well almost on the border to Michigan. And so
Hmm.
I was in Windsor. John's close to me, so they got me hooked up with him right away. Like
That's
I
how you met John Boudros, right?
like I talk with other people and which is good, they're great. But I found John to be more, what's the word I'm looking for, more knowledgeable. Like he knew more about the topic and he's able to help me more with it. And I could pretty well talk to him whenever I wanted to. So, and through him, he helped me connect with other experiencers. So I got this talk with him as well. And and it actually helped a lot. So yeah. I find too that's the best medicine for me. If you have someone to talk to, I think that's what's around the world today. There's a lot of people that I want to talk to, you know. But if you have someone to talk to, it really helps a lot. I find that's the best therapy, to be honest. If you have someone to talk to that understands what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you have things happening to you and they're unbelievable, nobody would believe them. That's a pretty frustrating situation to find yourself in.
Yes. I mean, even to this day, I just can't vote. I won't vote because what happened to me, I just can't do it. I just can't vote because of it. I just feel too betrayed to, I just can't do it.
Talk about that again. Did you say you can't vote?
Yeah, I won't
V
vote.
V
No.
O T E?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about
So,
that. Why?
well, what it is the government, they keep secrets. I mean, they have done things. They have MK Ultra and my lab, and even to today, they don't want to admit that. And then what I went through, it's very frustrating. I don't know, I just can't trust them. The pain with not just me, but my oldest son.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think the government is in any way involved in what happened to you?
Oh, yes.
And why do you believe that?
Well, the minimum block, to be honest, mine, I know some people say they are. I'm not doubting it. People's like I have people tell me some are human and some are hybrids. Mine are very human, and they are. I even mentioned my book word CIA. They're involved. It's just I don't know what to say or do.
Now, tell me again about some of your experiences with the MIBs, because I find them very interesting. And you were talking about your son had experiences, but have you had experiences with the MIBs yourself?
The first memory I have was like 4.5. I was kind of young, and I remember just the memories I have, and I remember one would have me. It was I was underground somewheres, and I remember he had a hold of me, and I was going down a hall. It looked kind of dark. It wasn't really bright, not dark. Like you can still see, but you know what I mean. It wasn't really bright. And he took me down, and there was other doors, like multiple doors you walk by, and then went down. Then he took me to one door there. So he opened the door. We went in. There's another one there too. Another one he was in there.
And what do these people look like? Just so I understand what they
Okay,
look like.
so just like this a man like in a dress suit, like a black jacket, the white shirt, and the black tie,
Hmm.
black shoes. And the one that took me in there didn't have any sunglasses on, but the one in the room, look, he took me into another one was in there. He had sunglasses on, which I thought was
Okay.
weird. It's dark in here. I see wearing
Yeah,
sunglasses.
why would you have sunglasses on, huh?
Maybe just I thought maybe just didn't want me to see him. So I went in and one with the sunglasses on, he had briefcase. And there was an examining table on one side where they're taking me to. And across from the exam table, they had a white table there, like those white fold-out tables. They had that one there. And an MIB with the glasses on, put a briefcase on the table, a black briefcase. He opened it up and he had got a chart. He's going through the chart there. Then he puts that down. Then he comes over to me. He picks me up, like underneath my shoulder, picks me up and sits me, just plops me on this table. And I was frightened. I was terrified. I said, they get me on this table, I'm done for. And so this MIB finally takes his glasses off, puts on the table. He takes off his jacket, puts on back the chair. That guy does the same thing. And that in her tie. And then one there, each one goes to each end of the table, one at the head, one at the feet. So one there tells me to lie down. I didn't want to because I knew if I lie down, I'm going to be, it's game over. So I lie down. This is when it gets bad. After I lie down, one by my head reaches down, grabs my shirt, pulls it off me. And one down by my feet grabs my pants and just pulls my clothes right off. Yanks them off. Yeah. And as I'm lying there, I remember I could hear something coming from my left side. And I thought, what am I hearing? And again, the wall was black, black, black. I mean, pitch black. I was terrified. I noticed beings there, but they were different. And they were dressed in black. And I can hear like a weird sound. I thought, okay, Grace, the little guys, I used to call them little people. I said, they don't make that noise. These ones look different. They were in black. They were huge. They're really tall, 8 to 9 feet tall. And really wide, I mean wide. And as they approached me, I noticed something. They had a head like a T-Rex, a face of a T-Rex. 5.
Really?
Yeah, 5 of them. They had an odor, and they came over. And as they come over, I can see their face better. Like they had gold, yellow looking eyes. They had brown skin with like scales, like the greenish hue. And they had like a stripe from their nose going right up to the side of their head. And I could see like that black stripes on her hands as well. And the couple went over to one side of me. Then the other couple on the other side of me. And I noticed how one pushed one of the MIB out of the way, like from my feet, he pushed more to the side. And another reptilian by my head pushed the other men in black away, from the side away. And I had the reptilians, each one standing at each end of me. And I remember one put his hand up. It was huge. They got these huge hands and they got claws on them, yellowy, large hands. And I remember one put their hand on my face. I felt like a funny smell odor or something, and I blacked out. I passed out. I actually had that more than once, that experience.
Wow. And did the experiences always include the men in black plus these other creatures?
Reptilians, not really a whole lot. I remember the MIB more. I say the Greys and the Men in Black are pretty well around, the same. Like I have looking up my bedroom today and found the Men in Black standing in my room. It's not a good feeling.
No, I don't imagine it is. Um, So I guess the way that you've chosen to deal with this, which makes a lot of sense, is some of the resources offered by Opus. Because one of the things I remember about my time with Opus is I would listen to people talk about their things that they'd experienced, and if they were traumatized, we could have resources that we could refer them to psychologists, trauma therapists. Did that
Yeah.
happen with you too?
Um, I never seen therapists like I used to see a woman that does regression. She's a
Hmm.
psychologist, like she worked with MUFON for a while.
Hmm.
I seen her for a while. I did regression. I think sometimes I haven't done it in a long while, but I've seen her for a while. That helps too.
Well, how did that help you, Lisa?
Well, again, you had someone that you had talk with that understands what's going on.
Believes you.
Another thing too, I didn't know right away. Like I remember before she did regression, I would tell her about all the stuff I remembered. She goes, "You remember a lot." So when she put me under, I said the exact same stuff I said to her before about regression. She says, "By the way," she says, "you're rare. People you do not remember what you remember." And I didn't know that.
Hmm.
It's just, I never knew that. She told me.
So how did this help you? Just the fact that somebody was willing to listen to you?
No, I wasn't going crazy
Yeah.
or
Okay.
something rare was happening to me, like something why the government picked me. I said, I can't be the only one. Just all this stuff is going to your head, and it's like maybe if I talk about it, will it stop? Not really. I was hoping it would, but no, it hasn't stopped.
It just kind of gave you some peace of mind, I bet, that other people were having similar experiences and that you weren't crazy.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Um, like, okay, is this something rare? Am I gonna die? All this stuff is just going, it's people say to me, how do you live with that? And I said, well, look at it this way, you have a choice. I mean, either live with it or just let yourself die, which unfortunately people have that has happened to people.
I imagine it has.
Suicide, it's terrible.
And you think that the government, this goes back to the men in black, the government might have something to do with this.
Yeah, seems that way.
Okay. And I don't, I'm not here to tell you that they don't, but
No, no, I mean they have done stuff like MK Ultra. I mean that does exist. People say it's conspiracy. If you look into it, you'll find it does actually exist. They've been on shows like Fifth Estate and other shows. It actually exists.
explain for those who might not know what MK Ultra is. Explain what that's all about.
Okay, people might have heard stories. At first, what it was is like a mind control program, like they're experimenting drugs on people and brainwashing. They're doing stuff like that. When it first came out, before they're only using prisoners. I mean, okay, who cares about prisoners, right?
Hmm.
Then after that, in Quebec, there, I'm trying to remember the name of the institution there in Quebec. But anyways, they
So
had,
this would be the Canadian government we're talking about,
yeah,
right?
mhm,
Okay.
yeah. And it's actually been in the States as well, but since I'm in Canada, the Quebec's one I mostly know about. But they had an institute there, and they took people in. Like people thought they were getting the help right, like they were depressed or whatever and issues. So they go into this hospital. And behind closed doors, they were doing terrible things. They're feeding people drugs. And they would put like a headset on their ears, like saying people repeating the same stuff over and over again, brainwashing them, giving them drugs, giving them shocks, like they put a thing on their head, give them horrible shock treatments, actually did damage to their brain. stuff like that.
That's horrible.
And after that, they actually got caught in the institutions. So after that, they were forced to close down. They did their best to get rid of how much information they had, but some was found. Not all of it was destroyed. So people thought, okay, they were found. It's not happening anymore. But that's not true. MK Ultra, now you got my lab, which basically is the same thing. And
Explain what a MyLab is for some
um,
people that don't know.
well, the same thing in a way. It's just that it's the military done to the military.
Mhm.
And what they do with people, some ways it's similar. They'll do these experiments on them. Like they put a thing on your head and give you the same treatment as that. And other experiments they do, like MK Ultra put implants in people. My lab, they even found implants in people. So it's not just aliens, but humans as well have been putting implants in people in their brain, on behind their ears.
Really does make you wonder why this is happening, doesn't it? What's the purpose behind this? Why abuse people, which is kind of what you're talking about. It's not like you're abused and others have been abused.
When people ask me what's worse, aliens or humans, I say
Huh.
it's people.
That's interesting. Very interesting. I used to work in corrections in another lifetime. I know what you mean about people. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily, uh, I know they do terrible things. So, what's your purpose in life? Given all these experiences, you've written a book. Tell people the name of your book again and where you can get it.
Okay, okay, the name of my book is Living in Two Worlds, a true account of alien encounters. And I always tell people when you look for my book, it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
A lot of people just put down living in two worlds. No, you have to write down a whole thing. Living in two worlds, a true account of alien encounters.
Okay.
Don't, you're not going to find it. That happened to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
you can find your book on Amazon.
yeah. And here's what's interesting about my book. The reason why I wrote my book is because of my mom.
Hmm.
That's the reason why at first, like, I remember I was telling about my experiences. And it's in here in Windsor. I was living in Windsor like for 9 years now. But one time I was talking with her and she says, do you ever consider writing these down? I said, okay, I'll write them down. A couple months later, I told her about it and she goes, do you ever consider writing to a book? And I go, oh no. I said, no, I gotta think about that.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure. So I started thinking over a few months later. I said, okay, maybe I'll do it. So I let her know. And it took me 2.5 years to write it. It was not easy writing that and trying to write down things so people can understand what I'm talking about. Because,
Well, I think the other thing is probably traumatic for you to recall some of this stuff.
oh, yes, that too. It's not easy. At times, I just want to throw the thing on the floor. I just didn't want to do it at times. But, anyways, I got it done. And then I got in touch with the publisher. She's Canadian. So I got in touch with her and I already had things planned out about getting it done. So one time I was about to send it out to her. Then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, whoa, do I want to really do this? I almost didn't do it, by the way.
Hmm.
I said, do I really want to do this? I wasn't sure. I was afraid. I don't know.
What what
I had
what
fear.
were you? Yeah, what were you afraid of?
I don't know. Um, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's hard to explain. Like I thought, it's not a good idea because what it's about. And I thought, well, what's people gonna think? So I didn't say anything right away to my publisher. I said, just let it go. Then sometime after that, like some days after that, I thought, wait, I am gonna do it. I can feel it in my heart, right? My heart was telling me a different thing. So I done it. And I got hold of her again. And I gave her caught my book, right? And then she sent me a thing, right? Like I go through a couple stages, right? Like someone will go through it, they'll read it. And if there's any, if they thought there's corrections in there, right, they fix it for you.
Mm-hmm.
I went through that. And then like the editor, then another person goes through it again. So I had to do it all over again. Just make sure everything was right. Like there's no spelling errors, like
Right.
they saw how you're trying to write it down. I'll get to the
Mm-hmm.
part where it's a little complicated. And so I've done that. And then once it was all ready, see, something weird happened to me the day I was going to send it out to her. Like I had my book already, okay, I already have it published. So my husband and I were down here on the computer getting it ready. So he headed upstairs for something. So okay, I'll just wait here for you. So I'm sitting down here in front of my computer. I had my book already sent out to my publisher. And I was sitting there, next thing I knew, I could feel like someone standing beside me.
Mm.
And I thought, I didn't hear anyone come downstairs. So the presence got really strong. So I turned my head to my right. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I know he wasn't there. It was a mind thing. Like I believe in remote viewing, and I was able to pick them up. There was a man there in a black suit.
Really,
I
MIB?
really close. Like I mean, so close. I couldn't just my hand and touch them. And and I looked and I turned my head from the computer again. I said, "Oh my God!" And I hear a voice in my head saying, "He goes, you shouldn't be doing this." He says, "I wouldn't recommend you send this book out to Anna's. I recommend you don't do this." And I was really threatening. And I just said in my mind, "Look, you have no right being here. Leave. It's time for you to go. You leave." Like I'm a little sensitive. I do believe in remote viewing, and apparently, if you're sensitive, someone's remote viewing you, you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
Mm.
terrifying. After that experience, I thought, "Oh God, what am I doing?" I couldn't believe. I said, "No one's gonna believe." I said, "No one's gonna believe this." As I said myself, but it was scary. He's just looking at us as solid as anything. I can feel him there. Mm,
Mm. Oh,
crazy.
that's incredible. That's an incredible story. I'm glad you did
Yeah.
publish your book, though.
Yeah, there's one thing to let you know, like I do make contact with a Nordic female, and it was a little girl. I called her Angie. Yeah, that's the name I gave her because I couldn't pronounce her real name.
Mm-hmm.
I had visits from her. I'll say too much, but she just say I'm not sure how much time do I have? Do I still have more time or
We're not under any kind of time constraint.
oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, it's okay. But I made contact with her. She has an amazing spaceship. And she took me up to her mothership after a while. And she actually let me see. It took some multiple visits, but I seen them put together one of her small spaceships. It's the most amazing thing I ever saw in my life. I actually have drawings of it in my book,
Hmm.
pictures to make it easier for people to understand what I experienced. I seen her, and I believe she's the reason why I survived all this mess.
That's part of your purpose.
Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. Well, Lisa, I really appreciate you spending time coming on our show and sharing this stuff with me. Thanks to John for telling me about you. And once we get this edited, and we don't do much in the way of editing, I'll send you a copy of the show. And if there's some place you want to put it, uh, you know, please feel free to do that. But I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, sure, sure. Do you have any final questions for me before I let you go here?
Questions? Right now, I can't think of anything, but something
You
comes
got,
up now. Yeah.
you got my email if you need that. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. And thanks for an amazing story.
Yes. Yeah, you're welcome. And I'll be more
Okay,
happy to come on again if you want me to sometime in the future.
we may just do that. We have frequent guests come back more than once. But thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye bye.
Bye.